Hello everyone and welcome to a different kind of tutorial. This tutorial is essentially going to be on the various kinds of errors that you might get whenever your Minecraft crashes after having installed several mods. Now, you may get some of these errors even with a normal Minecraft client, but the likelihood of that is incredibly slim, and even so, it's not going to have anything to do with some of the reasons I'm going to be mentioning here, and that's an entirely different topic. But for those of you in the Minecraft community that like to install a lot of Minecraft mods to your client, like I do, then you'll find this most likely very helpful. Now, this is not going to be a comprehensive, know-it-all guide to, this will automatically fix every single crash that you ever have with Minecraft, period. Oh, it's amazing. But that's, first of all, not entirely possible. There's way too many variables to consider. The number of mods you have installed, the kind of mods you have installed, what versions you're using of all the different mods, and, your Minecraft, your computer. There's way too many variables to consider to be able to ever create something like that. But I will give you the basics of what the errors are saying, like sort of how to interpret the crash that you're getting, and basically where to go to kind of start fixing the problem, as well as just an overall of the different kinds of errors that you get and stuff. So do bear with me throughout this tutorial, though. This is the first time I've ever even seen something like this, is me doing it. I've not seen anyone else do something like this, so I've not really had anything to base this off of. So this will kind of maybe be the first like this. So of course, feedback will be much appreciated to let me know what you thought. But let's go ahead and jump into this without further ado. So right now my Minecraft is running. I've still got a few more bugs to work out, but I've kind of been working on my own pack of just sort of like a private pack for myself and a friend of mine to play Minecraft with lots of mods. And there's still a couple bugs, like I said, to sort out, but it works, right? But I've gotten quite a few errors through me doing this, and the most common one that you will likely get whenever you're installing mods is illegal argument exceptions. Now, pre 1.7, you would get these incredibly often, like you would get dozens and dozens of them, right, whenever you were installing mods. With blocks and items, you would get all kinds of them. But after 1.7, there have been changes to the way that the ID system works so that there aren't going to be any more conflicts with blocks and items. I don't know exactly what was done, but there was a change to it so that that won't occur. However, biome IDs, enchantment IDs, potion IDs, entity IDs, all that kind of stuff, everything else except blocks and items will still have conflicts. So you have to be on the lookout for that. Now, if you don't know, an item ID conflict or entity ID conflict or whatever ID conflict is essentially caused because everything in Minecraft, regardless of what it is, potatoes, grass, like players, a monster of some kind, even an arrow flying through the air, it's technically an entity, so it has an ID to it. All of these things have numbers associated with them, and they're called IDs. Like a potato may be 56. I don't know if it's actually an actual number, but a potato may be 56. And if a mod adds something to Minecraft that is also 56, that's an item like a potato, Minecraft will crash because it doesn't know which 56 you're referring to, the potato or the mod item. So you have to make sure that all the numbers are different. Now, an enchantment could be 1, and you could also have stone, a block, be 1. But they're two different things. So an enchantment is an enchantment, and Minecraft knows the difference between an enchantment ID and a block ID, so they can be the same numbers. So you don't have to worry about making sure that every single number in Minecraft is different. You can have enchantments be the same as item IDs, but you can't have two enchantment IDs be the same. And that's essentially what I've gotten here, a duplicate enchantment ID. Now the ID itself is 77. You can see that at the end here where it says ID 77. But the two mods that are involved is Thaumic Exploration and Mariculture. Now, if you're looking at this and you're like, well, I don't know how you saw that. If you very carefully look at this, and it takes a little bit of practice to get used to it, but if you look at these crash reports, they read like a sentence. There's been a lot of work both on the Minecraft team side as well as the Forge side. A lot of work on the Forge side, the Forge team. They've developed sort of a method for loading mods and installing mods, and whenever Minecraft crashes, you get a fairly detailed crash report of what happened, because all the mods are supposed to be interacting in such a way, and it tells you exactly what happens. So the first part is java.lang.illegalargumentException. This is the actual Java error code that Java itself reported whenever it crashed. Now the rest of this is going to tell you sort of more information. So it's an illegal argument exception, but that's not all that too helpful. Now what is helpful is it says duplicate enchantment ID. That's what's wrong. Okay, so Java gave you this, but everything else right here is just it's getting from Forge, right? So the duplicate enchantment ID, and then the class. So there's two classes involved. That's what the and comes in. There's two classes involved. Now the class is going to tell you the exact file path of the first error and then the second error, right? So if you look here, 99% of the time you're going to find the mod name somewhere here in the file path. The file path is going to be the exact file which is causing the problem. It's the enchantment binding class that's being incompatible with the marine .magic enchantment jump class, right? And if I were to go in here and go into, where is it? Mods, and if I go down to mariculture, let's just use mariculture as an example. Where is it? If I open this up, and the file path is mariculture magic enchantments and then enchantment jump. So there's the class. So that's exactly the file path. If you look up here, you can see the exact file path. That's what that is. Okay, so that's exactly what it's just telling you right there. Now it's not telling you the mod, right? Whenever it starts here. So it starts with the file. So Flaxbeard is not the name of the mod, it's just where it starts in the mod. So if I go here, Thaumic Exploration, or was it Thaumic? Yeah, Thaumic Exploration is here. Now the name of the mod is Thaumic Exploration, but if I open it up, you're going to see a file called Flaxbeard, and that's where you start. So if you go Flaxbeard, Thaumic Exploration, enchantment, there it is. Binding, right? So that's sort of kind of how that works. Okay, so it can be somewhat difficult if the mod author didn't actually include the name of the mod somewhere in the file path. It can be somewhat difficult to find, but if you're kind of careful with paying attention, maybe to the names of the folders, you can kind of figure out which it is. And there's two mods involved, so I've not really encountered one where I couldn't figure out which mod it was. Usually the name of the mod is there somewhere. And if it's not on this first line, you can look down here. It'll give you sort of more instances of where it failed at. It'll just kind of give you, things. So Thaumcraft Exploration. So right there, it's giving you Thaumcraft Exploration as the mod name. So if you look down here somewhere, you should find one of the mods. I know that's kind of vague. If you look somewhere, you'll find it, but again, not every single mod is the same. The exact file names for these is just what the mod creator decided to call it. So it may be different for each mod. But anyway, to fix this, you'll need to go into the config files. And whenever you've installed a mod, if you don't already know this, whenever you've installed a mod, Forge automatically creates the mods folder and it creates the configs folder. Configs being where you can change, the aspects about your mod. So if you go into your Minecraft folders and you look for the config folder, you scroll down, you just find one of the mods in question, either Thaumic Exploration or mariculture. It could be either one. And I'm going to use Thaumic Exploration because why not? There it is. So there's the 3 enchantments right there. And it's a very small configuration file. There's a couple of things you can configure. Most, it's not too much, but there's the 3 enchantments right there. Right, there's the IDs of them. All you have to do is just change the number. Save it. You have to make sure you save it, and then just launch Minecraft again, and it'll be fixed. But here's the thing to consider. 77, as we saw earlier, is it this? No. This. As we saw right here, 77 is the ID that I need to change. But there's also 78 and 79 here. What we need to check is see if Mariculture has a 78 and 79 as well. So if we go over here to Mariculture, we'll see it starts at 70 and actually goes up to, I forget where it stopped because I changed quite a few of these, so I forget where it stopped at, but it starts at like 70 and it goes up to somewhere in the 80s. So the ones we need to change would be maybe these, or we could change the Mariculture ones. It's entirely up to you which ones you change. It doesn't really matter. But you need to make sure you change all 3. Because Thaumic Exploration has 3 enchantments that it adds that are going to be the same as the ones in Mariculture. So you don't want to just change one and launch Minecraft again. It'll just crash on number 78 and then crash again on number 79. So you need to make sure you change all 3. So it's usually good to bring up both mod config files to see. Now, the other thing is, of course, for Thaumic Exploration, it had a single config file. But for larger mods, they'll actually create an entire folder. And then this has like a whole bunch of different config files for each different like thing in Mariculture. Because Mariculture is a rather large mod. So it has a bunch of different things that it adds. So you'll just need to go and find the one that's going to have the enchantments in it. This is actually an enchantments file. Open this up and you get this, right? So there's a lot of different things in here. So you'll just have to keep that in mind. So, on to the next thing. Now, no class def found error. It's probably one of the more frustrating ones, because if you've ever dealt with a legal argument exception and you've fixed it before, you know that makes sense. You can fix the config errors. That makes sense. You can fix that. The no class def found error doesn't make logical sense. Java's returning that it hasn't found the class you're looking for. It can't find that file. But the file it's looking for is in, a certain mod. Now, I've actually gotten this error right now, recently. In this Minecraft version I'm running right now, I've gotten this error. As you can see, Minecraft has actually launched perfectly fine. And I can play Minecraft perfectly fine too. I can actually open up a world right now, I can play, and everything works. So why is it that it's saying it can't find a certain file if the mods work like they should? Well, the problem arises in an API. Well, I'll show you in just a minute. Show you where the explain the actual crash itself in a little bit more detail. It takes a little bit for it to come up, but it should come up. Come on. I've got my multi-MC thing over here looking. So, it's almost there. There it is. Okay. So, I'm in creative mode right now. If I open my inventory, everything works fine, right? Gameplay works. There's no problems. Minecraft works. But if I click this, Minecraft crashes. And the crash report, you say, there it goes. The crash report is this. This is exactly the crash report that I got. Now, what the problem is that an API in Mariculture, an API being Application Programming Interface, the programming interface with the Mariculture mod, the mod creator of Mariculture actually has an API that interacts with another mod called Hunger Overhaul. And in his mod, he has a lot of compatibility with a lot of different mods so that they work together. Because sometimes mods don't work together very well, but Mariculture works with a lot of different mods, so it adds things that those mods can interact with so that they, can exist equally. But the API between Mariculture and Hunger Overhaul is possibly outdated. The two are maybe outdated some sort, so that it's trying to reference something it can't access and it crashes. So the reason I know this is because it says Hunger Overhaul, right? Iguana config. That's the mod name, Hunger Overhaul. And it's giving me the error, and it says at. So it says Mariculture plugins, plugin overhaul, add information. Now the rest of this is the specific line of code it's referring to, the number line 40. But the I guess that's the method or something. But it's in plugins. Now if we go back to Mariculture and we look at the actual file, where is it? Let me open this up. So if we go into Mariculture, we go to plugins, and plugin Hunger Overhaul, right there. So that plugin, which is the API that the mod creator of the mod Hunger Overhaul provided to people who wanted to, interface with this mod to make it work with other things, the API is possibly outdated. So to fix this, you would have to actually delete that class. Now, you may think, well, I don't want to delete that because it's supposed to be in the mod. Didn't the mod creator add that? Well, yes and no. Yes, he did add it, but no, it's not okay to just leave it in there because it's causing you to crash. So you have to delete it if you want to be able to play with both Mariculture and the Hunger Overhaul without crashing whenever you click on the search bar. Because this is trying to reference things that basically whenever you update two mods, if one mod is using an API and the other one's not, right, the API in mod A will be updated. But the API in mod B, even though it uses the API from mod A, the API is not updated to be the same as mod A. So even though mod B is updated to the same version of Minecraft, it's using an older version of the API that mod A is using, and they aren't the same, so it crashes. So Minecraft will usually run whenever something like that happens, but whenever you try to access that part of the mod is whenever it crashes. So that's kind of the problem. I don't know why specifically it's crashing whenever you hit the search bar in creative mode. That's a very specific, weird thing, but that's sort of how that works. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm trying to explain this in a way that makes sense. Again, it's kind of complicated and an annoying one, but the only really way to fix it is to find out which two mods are having problems and then delete the actual APIs. One specific one that was a pain in the Batuti to deal with is Dragon API. Dragon API is a library class for all of Reika's mods. Reika made a bunch of stuff like RotaryCraft, ReactorCraft, those kind of things. He's made a bunch of mods, pretty detailed and big ones too. But you need Dragon API if you want to use any of them, because it's just basically the application programming interface for all of his mods. It uses a bunch of utility classes and stuff that I'm not going to get into all the code behind it, but you need this. And it has a bunch, as you can see. It's got Benny for extra trees, the extra trees mod, Code Chicken Core for microblocks, ICBM mod. Let's see, Power Crystals. Speedy Tools mod, Thaumcraft mod, Universal Electricity mod. It's got a bunch of integration with a whole bunch of other mods to make, his mods work with other mods as well. But the Dragon API, actually, I kept getting this error. Minecraft wouldn't actually start up, so I had to delete a couple of these folders, namely Buildcraft and Forestry. Because I had Buildcraft and Forestry installed, their APIs were different than the one that Reika was using in his, so it crashed even before loading because it saw that they were different. So once I deleted those, it's fine, but it still crashed on the creative menu, so I had to delete more. And this is an older version of that. I had to see if I found an older version. This is actually an older version of the one before I changed it. If I go into here and I show you the newer one, which I changed here, you can see that there's a lot less folders because I deleted pretty much all of the APIs that weren't absolutely essential because they were outdated, because he hasn't updated his APIs. He's updated his mods to 1.7, but he hasn't updated his APIs yet, so they're pretty much all outdated. So you have to kind of delete folders. So again, this is an annoying error to deal with, but usually one that's fixable easily by simply deleting files or classes in the right spots. It just takes a little bit of trying to figure out which files you need to delete, because you have to be very careful. I actually had to back up I had to download a new copy of Dragon API because I accidentally deleted the wrong files, and then the mod was crashing because it didn't have the right, it was giving me a no class found error because it literally couldn't find the right classes because they were deleted. So you do have to be a little careful with that. But anyway, that's that one. That's actually another version of it. And then null pointer exception. Ugh. This one is incredibly annoying. This one, I don't know, is really fixable unless you remove the mod that's causing it. And really, you're not going to get these hardly ever unless like something really weird's happening, because what no pointer exceptions don't occur usually unless there's some sort of event happening, like if you're opening a GUI, or in this case, it was actually it actually crashed on player logout was when it happened. So whenever a player log out, it crashed for whatever reason. So no pointer exceptions are kind of weird to deal with. I don't know of a way to deal with them except for remove. If you added a mod and then you're getting null pointer exceptions whenever stuff happens, just remove the mod, because it's going to be difficult to find. You could try and do the same thing with no class found errors. Like if you look through here and you try to find that exact thing, I think I might be able to find that class somewhere if I go to code. Now, I've not really gotten this except once. I don't even remember why I got that. But it was I was messing around with some stuff on a server I was running, so that's why a lot of this is server network. You know, it's all server stuff. So this was a server side error. But let's see, code chicken core. So let's see, code chicken ender storage. Okay, so it's actually ender chest mod ender storage. So see, I actually opened the wrong thing. So sometimes, again, it's kind of tricky sometimes to figure out exactly which mod they're referring to. But if I go to code chicken, yeah, this is the right one. So, and then storage, and then liquid, and then tank synchronizer. And then it's the on-player logout's the actual method it would be referring to, and then it gives you the actual line of code it's on. But I'm not going to open the class right now because I can't in this without opening Eclipse, and that would be complicated. But if you're getting this repeatedly, you could try deleting that particular class. But again, you might get then a no class found error, because whenever the mod's trying to load, it's trying to register certain items, and if it doesn't have that class of an item, it might crash. So it's no pointer exceptions are kind of similar to no class found errors, except they usually happen on events. In this case, again, it was the player logout is whenever some weird error occurred and things happened. And I can't for the life of me remember what it was that happened. It only happened once, and I don't even know how I fixed it. But I've never gotten it again. They're usually really weird. So I can't really give you an exact definition on how to fix these, except maybe try the same thing you did with no class found error, or just remove the mod entirely. Yes, that's that. Now, one that's even more difficult, well, maybe not quite as difficult, but array index out of bounds exception. And there's actually two of them. Java runtime exception, and then an array index out of bounds exception. Array index out of bounds exception is basically a very quick Java code thing. In Java, there are these things called arrays, and you may or may not have heard of an array before, but at least in Java, what they do is they store data in sequence. So you could have an array of numbers and an array of integers. And if you're not a math person, an integer is basically just any counting number. It does not include decimals, but it can include negative numbers. So if you have an array of integers, you just have like maybe 7 integers all stored in one variable. Like if you have a variable x, you could have an array of integers stored in the variable x. It could be like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Just all stored in that one variable. So an array can only have a certain number of variables, and if you want to access that, you would say, okay, array, index whatever number. It's sort of like a coordinate plane. Like if you've ever done like geometry or something, and you're doing like the graphing on coordinate planes, you have to specify the coordinates. It's like 2, 2 and like 2, 4, right? It's the same thing you would do for an array. You have to specify the exact numbers of what area in the array you want to access. I know this is kind of complicated, but I'm trying to explain this. Just bear with me. So if you wanted to access a really large array with like a whole bunch of different things, you might have to do like, okay, row 3, column 2, number 4. So it might be like 3, 2, 4 or something, right, to access that specific number. So if you have an array index out of bounds, maybe you have an array with 5 numbers in it. Well, you say, I want number 6, but there is no 6th number. So it gives you as an out of bounds, saying that you're asking for something that's not there. So these usually occur if, for whatever reason, you have some mod that is like this particular crash. It actually crashed on startup. Minecraft didn't start up correctly, but I got a similar crash. Minecraft started up. You could go into a world, but after about a minute and a half, it would crash with an array index out of bounds exception, because variables are, maybe being added up in the background, and due to a weird mod integration, the variables get added to a point where they go past what they're supposed to, and it crashes because it's not supposed to go past maybe 5, but it goes past 5, and then Minecraft is like, oh no, it's too big of a number, and it crashes, right? Back in the day, Minecraft used to crash if you were to explore too far, because the numbers would get, the coordinates for Minecraft would get so large it would cause an array index out of bounds exception and crash. So this is essentially something that's not really fixable, because you would actually have to change the raw code, but it's just a mod integration thing. So this particular crash that you're looking at here is Fastcraft and rendering stuff. So what it is Fastcraft and the GLSL shaders. So basically the mod that makes Minecraft look incredibly pretty cannot work at the same time that Fastcraft is running. So if you go here, and if you don't know what Fastcraft is, Fastcraft is essentially a mod that allows you to it rewrites some of the terrain generation features to be the same as 1.8 so that it generates faster. But if I go in here and edit this instance, you'll see that I do not have... Okay, Fastcraft right there is enabled, but the GLSL shaders mod is not. If I wanted to enable this mod, I would also have to disable Fastcraft, because they just will not work together. It causes an array index out of bounds exception. I don't know why it causes that, but the two mods being together cause some variable in Minecraft to get either too large, or it's accessing parts of that variable that it physically cannot, and it just crashes. So usually this is only fixable by uninstalling some other mod Now you may want to try the same thing as no class found error and maybe try and delete an API or something, but again, that's not likely going to be the solution. The solution is likely just going to be that it's not, two mods aren't going to work together. Now it's a sad thing that you can't have every single mod installed. I mean, I would like GLSL shaders to be installed with Fastcraft, but really in this case it's an easy solution, because once I generate my world and I've explored a lot, I could uninstall Fastcraft and install GLSL shaders, and the problem is solved, because the only thing Fastcraft does is generate terrain faster, so it's not as laggy. But once I've generated all the terrain that I need to generate, I mean, you explore maybe 10,000 blocks in every direction, you're not really going to need to explore too much more unless you really wanted to. So once you've done that, you can just install whatever other mod was causing the problem and uninstall the terrain gen 1, and you're good to go. In other cases, it may not be that simple, but anyway. So that's essentially sort of that error. Now, let's see, that's null pointer, no class found, illegal argument exception. Now this is another array index out of bounds exception, and it gives me 6, so apparently 6 was the problem. But in this particular case, geostrata was the problem, and it was this function. And the only reason that the function name is that is because Notch, whenever he was originally writing his Minecraft code, decided that it would be a really fun time to just give random numbers, random functions or methods, random number names with letters in there. So I don't know why he decided that was a good idea, but that's just the name of the method that's causing this to be the problem. And since there's no other mod being mentioned, Buildcraft. Okay, so it says Buildcraft here, so obviously Buildcraft is the problem. Now, I only got this once, and technically, this is not a problem for me anymore. I can't, again, remember why I got this one. But the only way to really fix this would be to possibly, since Reka has an API with Buildcraft, you could try deleting the API with Buildcraft, but if that doesn't fix the problem, you would just not be able to use Geostrata with Buildcraft. You couldn't use the two because they were editing some variable. Now I've still got Geostrata installed with Buildcraft. Again, I'm not sure what the problem is. Sometimes it's simply a matter of maybe too many entities. I mean, I had some problems with some dungeon mods I installed one time. This was not in 1.7, this was a while back, but some dungeon mods were generating, because I had several dungeon mods installed, they were all like, I had like rogue dungeons installing, generating a dungeon, battle towers was generating a dungeon, and then I had like better dungeons generating some stuff. And they were all generating, and they were spawning too many mobs for Minecraft to handle, and it crashed, giving me an array index out of bounds exception. So I actually had to uninstall, or rather just change the way that it spawned mobs so that it wouldn't be as many. Because I could go into Minecraft, but after a couple minutes it would just crash because there were too many mobs for it to handle. So it wasn't necessarily one mod causing another to crash, but several of them working and editing variables that caused it to crash. Okay, so that's sort of how that works. Now, these are sort of the 4 most common errors you will get. Now, let's see. No. Here you can see I actually got a Java runtime exception error as well, because here I just got Java array index out of bounds exception. If you just get Java runtime exception, you're not really going to get just a Java runtime exception. It should give you something else, but if it just gives you Java runtime exception, you're not really going to have much information to go off of exactly what the problem is, because it's an incredibly vague problem, and your best bet is to just start uninstalling mods until the problem is fixed, because there's really nothing you can do about that until you figure out more information, because runtime exception is applicable to everything to pretty much every error. Really, it's more of a vague term. So if you see something like that, it's not really enough information to go off of to fix the problem. I mean, you could look and see which two mods are causing the problem, but you're not going to know if they'll work together or if they won't, or if it's just a specific biome that it won't work in, because sometimes that's the case. You know, it's a specific biome, because Minecraft is weird. But at any rate, that's pretty much the 4 basic kinds. The illegal argument exceptions, which is here. The no class found errors. The no pointer exceptions, and then the out of bounds exceptions. So hopefully this is somewhat helpful to you guys that are installing mods. If you didn't find it helpful for whatever reason, let me know so that I can maybe fix whatever is wrong, because I would like to try to make this so it's helpful. That's the whole point. But otherwise, do leave some feedback. I'd like to hear what you think. And at any rate, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in another video.